Hello, how are you doing? I've come out today to do one of my favourite forms of wildlife photography, and that's wildlife photography stalking. Now, I've come to a place that I've been to quite a lot over the years, and just recently I've had really poor results. So what I've done today to try and switch things up a bit is I've done an evening shoot rather than a morning shoot. Generally I come here in the morning. What I also want to do is just share my stalking kit setup that I've sort of been developing over a couple of years. Obviously, you know, for different sorts of wildlife photography you need different kit, and for stalking in particular, obviously what's happening is you're trying to be as quiet as possible. So you don't want to be carrying too much around with you, because you need to be able to slide behind a tree or get down on the floor really quickly and really quietly. So you don't want loads of kit hanging off your tripods and things. So what I've tried to do is develop a kit that I think, you know, is reasonably good at doing that. There are some issues, and obviously if you're looking at kit for stalking wildlife, unless you're filming wildlife, which I also am, your needs are probably going to be a little bit different to mine, because I'm filming things like this for you. Obviously the number of bits of kit I have go up quite a bit, and yeah, it makes it slightly more difficult. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a wander around, see if I can find anything. Hopefully, as it gets a little bit quieter in here, I've just had a couple of dog walkers come through, so hopefully things will start to re-emerge from the undergrowth, and maybe I get some few shots before it gets too dull. But we'll see how we get on, and I'll just walk you through the kit that I'm using as well. Right, so obviously, as you already know, I'm using the A7R3 and the Sony 200-600. Compared to sort of stuff I've used in the past, this is reasonably lightweight. Obviously with going to a full frame camera, it's heavier than the A6400, which would be lighter on this than obviously the A7R3, but I'm quite comfortable using this and I can carry it all day. Now, what I've also got is this little Vanguard bag. Now, I think it's the Vanguard VO 37M. Any bag this size, you know, is probably the sort of thing I would go for. The reason I like this one particularly is it's got these webbing straps on the outside, and as you can see, it allows me to attach things to it, which I'll come to in a minute. Now for you, if you're stalking wildlife, you can probably get away with just taking that dead easy, not a problem. For me, because I'm filming, trying to film wildlife, which for me, I must admit, is still a big problem. But the other problem I've got as well is that I'm obviously vlogging videos to yourselves when I'm doing these videos, which means I need extra kit. So what I'm filming through at the minute is the A6400, and obviously I've got the microphones, and I've got a little Gorilla Pod tripod that's sitting on. Now, that's the minimum I can get away with, I think. Obviously, if I got an action camera, then that would be even lighter than the A6400. It'd save a lot of weight. We could probably actually do away with the bag then. For me, the problem I have with that is I really struggle to find an action camera that gives me sound where I can use these Rode microphones, these video microphones. I think the Rode Goes, which means I've got obviously the microphone here, and I've got a receiver on the A6400 that plugs into that. So the reason I like this bag, and as I say, is it's got these webbing straps that means I can attach things. It's got this, actually is for a drinks bottle, but I put the Gorilla Pod in there. It's got loads of room for the camera, it's actually more space than I actually need. But the reason I like it is I can really, when I'm stalking wildlife, you know, this sits on my back, and it's really easy just to slide an arm out there and slide this off and put it down if I need to get into the undergrowth, and you know, I want to be as agile as possible. I can just leave that there, and then I might go 50-60 yards without that on my back. So it's really useful. The other thing I like about it, and this is something I thank Mel, my wife, for, she made me this little pack for the back here, which is fully waterproof. Now this is great because inside here I have a Tragopan bag hide. Folds up really small, but if I'm stalking wildlife, you'll often get a situation where you come to an area where you think stuff's going to come across here, definitely. Early in the morning, you think, yeah, you can see tracks of things, maybe go into some water. Is it worth me sort of getting down somewhere for an hour, 2 hours, just to see if anything comes along? And this is ideal for that. It means I can make myself a little tiny hide with this and just get covered up and keep nice and quiet, and often you'll get some stuff come through. So that's what this is for. But what it's also good for is, you can imagine if I get caught in the rain, an absolute downpour, I do carry a cover for this, but if it's really, really bad, maybe I want to pack the lens away. I can put the camera in the bag, but obviously the lens won't fit in the bag. However, this pack here will actually fit this lens in without the cover on, so reverse back, and I can just take this out and carry it. I'm not bothered if this gets wet, it'll dry out, but obviously the lens won't. So I've got a fully waterproof cover there for the lens if I need it in an emergency, so that's brilliant for me. And as I say, there's loads of room in this bag. It's got a cover as well, so if I have to put my cameras in it, fully waterproof. I had tried things like the old army webbing things with the packs on. What I found with those is they're quite noisy, believe it or not. And they're also, because they hang a lot on the sides, when you're trying to get through undergrowth, they tend to hook up on things, and they're not easy to remove. They're not designed to be removed. And as I say, I've found that I prefer to take this off. If I can just stick this behind some undergrowth, and I can move along a lot easier without a pack on at all. Whereas with the sort of webbing situation, it basically stays on you. You're taking that with you, and it's not always easy to be really quiet, I've found anyway. So anyway, that's my stalking kit up. I don't take an awful lot of anything else. Sun's starting to drop now, so I'm going to head off into the woods and see if I can get some pictures and bring you with me and hopefully prove that this works. Right, well, this is day 2 of this video, and I'd be lying to you if I said that this was the following day. It's actually about 4 or 5 weeks since I recorded that first bit, and there is a reason for that. We've basically been moving my daughter into a new property, so really everything else got put on hold, and I didn't really get a chance to get out and do this second part of this video. So what I've done today is I've come out early morning rather than late evening. It's the first chance I've had, hopefully, to continue this video and carry on, and hopefully get some images at least this time while I'm stalking around this local woodland, which has been very unproductive recently. So we'll see what happens. I've got the same kit as last time, and yeah, we'll just get on with it. Got here just as it was getting light, and now the sun's just come up, so I'm hoping that there's still going to be some stuff around. So yeah, we'll crack on with it and see what we can find. Right, stalking wildlife, especially early in the morning like I am now, is often quite difficult, because you need to get there nice and early, but often, especially in woodland, what you'll find is that it can be quite light outside, but within the trees it's really still quite dark, and you can get into a position where you actually got wildlife in front of you, but it's too dark to get any pictures. I've actually seen a fox this morning, but managed to get down before he saw me, a couple of seconds before, but it was just too dark to take any images. But I've just had some roe deer in the woodland here now. One of the other things that I do, if it's still quite dark, there's 2 options that I have. One is I'll try and find a position where I think that I can sort of wait up. So a position where I think that wildlife is going to come through. So if you've got like a crossroads in the woodland, so various paths crossing together, I might try and get off the path and just watch that area to see if anything comes through and uses that to come through the woodland. And hopefully the light's improving all the time and I can get some images. The other thing that I'll do is I'll I'll try and scope out the land on the edge of the woodland. Now this woodland here is quite good because there's a sort of section of open land that sits between sort of a U shape of trees. So it's enclosed on 3 of the 4 sides, and often you'll find wildlife in there in the morning. I've just actually seen some deer, managed to get some images. As you can see, the light's a lot better in here than it is in the woodland behind me. Right, I just want to relate to you a classic example actually of what I try and do in woodland, and what I'll try and show you here is I've just walked down this ride here, which is, as you can see, it looks absolutely fantastic in this morning light. I'm obviously watching for things coming in front of me, but when I get down to the bottom here, I come to a T-junction. So there's 2 paths going off to the left and to the right. So what I always do, and what you can't see on the floor here, is that this is a really gravelly path. So I always move to the edge of the path so I'm not making any noise. And it's really just a case of, I always keep watching behind me just in case anything's, obviously the deer, the foxes or whatever, they're not following the footpaths all the time, or the tracks. They'll come out of the woods, so they can come behind you. So I always check behind me where I walk just in case there's something coming up behind me or something stepping out of the woodland. But as I'm coming up here, I'm obviously making sure I'm not treading on any gravel because I don't want to make a noise. Because I don't know what is left and right on these tracks. And this morning as I came up, I was being really quiet, looking left and right. Now that path opens up first, couldn't see anything down there. And then I'm looking to the right, and there's a roe deer on the path. And I could just make out, I think it was walking towards me, so there's a little wood pile here, look. So I managed to get up and behind that on the edge. And unfortunately in that position, the roe deer was out of sight, so you're never quite sure whether it's gone off the path and gone into the woodland or it's still coming towards you, but you have to sort of hold your nerve and just wait. And luckily for me, it did come a little bit closer, and I managed to get a couple of shots before it headed off into the woodland. Right, I've made it back to the car. I think I'm going to call it a day for today. I've actually stopped a lot longer than I was going to do. I've really enjoyed it. It's been quite a challenge this morning. I think part of it was the fact that I was rusty, and I think I've had a lot of sort of half opportunities this morning that on a different occasion I may have got a better shot. The other issue is as well, I've had a lot of situations that some days they develop in your favour and other days they don't develop in your favour. Not really a lot you can do. All I can say is I've really enjoyed it today. I really can tell I've not been out for 4 or 5 weeks, and yeah, it's just been fantastic to get out and do some wildlife photography. Right, so next time, obviously we're into October now, so I'm hoping to get up to Big Moor again like I did last year and do some photography and filming of the red deer during the rut. And what will make that interesting is my daughter's moved up to Aberdeen, which is quite close to the Cairngorm Mountains, so it may be that later on in the rut I get a chance to get up there and do the rut in the Cairngorms. So we'll see what happens, but that's for next time. Hope you've enjoyed this one, as I say, and I'll see you soon for another one. Cheers, bye.